supposed to judge from? I got you.
And what measure ye meet, it shall be measured unto you, is measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye?
Why you beholding a mote in your brother's eye, right?
But consider not the beam that is in thine own eye.
Consider it not the beam that is in your own eyes. And where's your fringes then? And where's your fringes? I got my fringes in my bag, man. In my garment, man. The Bible says you gotta wear fringes. So wait a minute. The scripture speak about being wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. Does it not, man? All right. So first of all, I mean.
Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Kahalayim Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Ba'asham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners whose phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold. To the sister, the Akwaf, listen in silence, Shalom. Right, this your brother Ram Yahawada with the lesson, right? And this whole business about, the fringes and, things, here's another thing, that kind of came across my mind to think of. So Jeremiah chapter 13, verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh unto me, go get thee a linen girdle and put it upon thy loins, and put it not in water, right? Because sometimes you could put your boots or something in the water, and then you let it sit out. It helps the leather stretch or whatever, right? So it's put it not in water, so it don't help it stretch, so it's on like nice and tight, right? So I got a girdle according to the word of Yahweh, and put it on my loins, right? And the word of Yahweh came unto me the second time, saying, take the girdle that thus has got, which is upon thy loins, and arise, go to Euphrates, and hide it there in a hole of a rock. I went and hid it by Euphrates as Yahweh commanded me, right? Because these things that the Lord have us do is the commandments. And it came to pass, right, after many days, Yahweh said unto me, arise, go to Euphrates, and take the girdle from thence, which I commanded thee to hide there, right? And when I went to Euphrates and digged and took the girdle from the place where I hid it, and behold, which means feast your eyes upon, look, pay attention, right? The girdle was marred. It was profitable for nothing. And that's basically us trying to keep the law. Us trying to keep the law is profitable for nothing. As far as not like a Christian, where you're not trying, but us trying to keep everything to the T, right? Because this whole thing with the fringes, what about when martial law hits? Matter of fact, yeah, this thing is talking about how this girdle was in this thing, and then it fell apart. Well, I've had my fringes on a garment, you know what I mean? Because I used to wear the fringes with the t-shirts all the time. Well, especially for me, I don't have a wife, right, that can sew. But on top of that, my fringes, basically from washing it, it fell apart. And once the fringes fell off, what was it? You have to wear the fringes to be saved? So imagine us being in the wilderness, martial law hit, the Lord said be a pilgrim. So now that I have to be a pilgrim going place to place, how do I make sure that I still have on those fringes when Yahushua get here? It's going to be profitable for nothing. That garment is going to be marred, moth-eaten, right? Matter of fact, there's another a verse that I think it says something about that. But basically, it's marred. So what good is it me having some fringes on and I'm being going through martial law, being a pilgrim, and the fringes fall off, which that's happened to me from washing it and washing it and washing it. And that's one of the things what made me understand what Apostle Harden was saying about it just being spiritual at this point. Because what are you gonna do? You're gonna be walking around with a needle and a thread, making sure that you got a thing when people are starving and dropping dead all over the place. But you better have your needle and thread and sew on your fringes in the middle of helter skelter, where race wars and famine and all sorts of pestilence and wild beasts and all sorts of things. But I better have a extra thing of fringes and some sewing gear, right? So I guess when you're a pilgrim, you better have some extra sewing gear, right? But then the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Thus saith Yahweh, after this manner I will mar the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem, right? And Jerusalem, the northern kingdom, have great pride. No BS. Like, the Lord is on point with that. Like, them Puerto Rican, and they got super pride. Those, the natives, they're super proud. The Mexicans are super proud. But the Lord's finna bring them down in these last days, man. Except for those that are the elect, who already knew, who already, should come to knowing to put your pride aside. You know what I mean? Because only the elect is gonna make it, really, technically, right? Because you got men talking about that you gotta have the fringes on. Well, what about when the garment is marred and profitable for nothing? What about when you wash it and then hey, I mean, how often are you gonna be able to wash it when we're pilgrims? Even that makes a garment, where it's starting to fade, and the seams are starting to fall apart. So if my fucking seams fall apart and Yahushua crack the sky and the seams fall apart, I guess I can't be saved now. You know what I mean? That is insane. But Salakia, this evil people which refuse to hear my word, which walk in the imagination of their heart, right? And that's ultimately what Alazar is doing, walking in the imagination of his own heart, right? Most of Israel, they're making the whole thing about the fringes like the whole point of being an Israelite. Like that's asinine, right? With or without fringes, you're Israelite. That's how you bring in the Israelite foreigners. When did the Israelite foreigners wear fringes? But the Lord saw it fit that he will bring in the Gentiles, which is talking about Israelites, into the fold without fringes. saying that they are partakers into the commonwealth, having nothing to do with fringes. This shit is crazy. And then they got nerves to be like, I can't believe we're having this conversation. I can't either. Because what about when it's moth eaten? Right? It says, this evil people which refuse to hear my word, right? Through the prophet, through Apostle Tahar, the elders, the ones who, hey, man, regardless, they're just men. But right now, these men, the Lord has a heavy a spirit on these men. Let's not get it confused. You know what I'm saying? It says, let's walk in the imagination of their heart, which is lob, your mind, and walketh after other gods, right? And you constantly, even you could probably be making that like a god. Fringes, you gotta have the friend, you gotta do, like, you mean, anything could be turned into something your worship or you're putting higher than another thing, instead of putting what the Lord said to put, brotherly love, right, surpasses all sins, all things, right? The greatest thing you could do is lay down your life for your brother, and part of laying down your life for your brother is your pride. Laying down your pride, laying down, you want to rule over them. Hey, you're not doing this, and and you're pointing all these things out and more condemning them than building them up. That's where you're not showing brotherly love. I mean, so Salakia, to walk after other gods and to serve them and to worship them shall even be as this garment. They're gonna be as this garment, right? Good for nothing, profitable for nothing, which is good for nothing, right? And for those who laughing, oh, he's talking about blah 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 blah. That's Let's see what the Lord says to prove that this has to be spiritual, right? 11. For as this garment cleaveth to the loins of a man, so I cause to cleave unto me. So he said, look, as a linen garment cleave unto a man, or the girdle cleaves unto a man, so shall I have these men cleave unto me. How can you be cleaved unto the Lord when the Lord's in the spiritual world? Through the Spirit, through the scriptures, right? Through the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And the understanding, part of understanding is knowing that these things fall apart. That this thing can be marred very easily. Right? So it says, calls to cleave unto me, which is the Lord, the whole house of Israel, which is the northern kingdom, and the whole house of Judah, which is the southern kingdom, which is all of Israel, the whole house of Israel, saith Yahweh, that they might be unto me a people spiritually. Because the thing could be, man, let's see, people, and for a name, and for a praise, and for a glory, but they would not hear. Because you're trying to make everything higher than what it need to be, instead of looking at things, wisdom, knowledge, understanding, right? And this thing is spiritual more than anything. The just walketh by faith, not by sight. Right? Yeah, so this is Genesis chapter 3, verse 10. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid. Right? Because I was naked, right? And I hid myself. And he said, who told thee, right? Who told thee that thus was naked, right? So does this mean Adam and Eve were actually naked? That, oh my God, I don't have, the Lord just showed up, which really actually is a prophet. The prophet just showed up. The prophet of the Lord showed up. He's speaking to me, and I don't have my fringes on. So now I'm naked because I don't have fringes on. No. It's not that he's actually naked without any garments or any clothing. It's dealing with shame. Right? Your shame is going to be seen. Right? Right? That's why he said, and I hid myself. Why? Because he was ashamed. He hid himself. I heard, and he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid. Why are you afraid? Because you have shame. Right? Matter of fact, let's go into that, because that goes into because the Lord said that Israel shall not be ashamed, nor shall they face wax pale. With the pale goes into what? Shame. Yeah, this is Genesis 3:10, right? Let's talk about who told you that you were naked, right? And let's go into that. Word naked.
Strong's H 5903. Arom. Arom. Second entry. Arom. Arom. Third entry. Arom. Arom.
Which that thing is wrong. It's supposed to be Irom. Irom. Right? Irom. Yeah. Irom, but not Aram. Because they put an Aram. Aram means naked, but it's Iram. Iram means naked, not Aram. Right? And it says, naked. Nakedness. Nakedness. Nakedness and necessities. Utterly naked and helpless. So yeah, that's naked, right? See what it goes into. I'm going to this.
Strong's H 6191. Aram. Aram.
Yeah, see, it's these ones Aram, but it's Iram, like the sound of I. It's supposed to be naked. To be subtle, to be shrewd, be crafty, right? Really, that's really what Satan, or the enemy, which Satan just means your adversary, your enemy, did to them. But I would go with more like this means helplessness, shame. You basically, you're called out there, right? Yeah, so this is Isaiah chapter 29, verse 22. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, who redeemeth Abraham, right, which is the beginning of this, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not Abraham, Isaac, and Esau, or Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael, but Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, concerning the house of Jacob, which is the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom. Jacob shall now not be ashamed, right? Right? Because he said, I was ashamed. I hid myself. I was afraid. He was ashamed. Neither shall his face wax pale, right?
Strong's H 954. Boosh. Boosh.
Yeah, see? Put to shame. Be ashamed. Right? To feel ashamed. Right?
Disconcerting.
Disconcerting, causing one to feel unsettled, right? Troubled, right? Disturbed, troubled, disturbed, which means you're afraid, right? Perplexed, confusing, alarming. I mean, you're afraid, right? So the Lord said, in the day that He's coming, we're no longer going to be ashamed. We're no longer going to be afraid. We're no longer going to be ashamed or afraid, right? Yeah. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh, who redeemed Abraham concerning the house of Jacob, right, which is all 12 tribes, southern kingdom, northern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, and then, Ephraim, all the way down to the so-called Mexican, shall not now be ashamed, right, which is afraid, neither shall his face wax pale, which means to have shame or to be afraid. This is Genesis chapter 3, verse 10, right? To go back to reiterate this. And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid or troubled, right? Because I was naked, right? Which is ashamed. I hid myself. And he said, who told thee that thus wast naked, right? Who told you that this shame was upon you, right? Because they only knew good. They didn't know evil. or shame or discontent or trouble, right? Right? Has thus eaten of the tree wherewith I commanded thee that thus shall not eat, right? And that's ultimately what would happen, right?
Head north toward North 30th Street.
Right? So he wasn't actually naked. It has to do with shame, right? Yeah, so this is Revelation chapter 16, verse 15. Behold, which means feast your eyes, look, pay attention. I come as a thief, right? And that's the Lord said he's just reiterating, saying that he's coming like a thief in the night, like no one knows the day, like not even him, right? Which proves that he's not the same as the Father, that the Father has the ultimate supreme power, even over him, right? Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments. So that's just, is that saying blessed is the one who watcheth and keepeth his fringes on, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I had, I used to wear the shirts with the fringes, and I used to always hear Apostle Hardin saying, that he would break down these scriptures about the garment. Like this is one of them right here. This is, and I didn't really get it until I had my shirt right where the crazy thing about it is there was nothing wrong with the shirt in itself. The shirt, it wasn't ripped. There was nothing wrong with the shirt. Just the fringes started coming off from the bottom of the shirt. I had no one to sew them back on. Right? So I had to go online and try to buy another $40 shirt that had fringes on it. And these are shirts that these people get at swap. Like, I mean, there's no way that shirt should cost $40. But I mean, how many times am I gonna buy $40 shirts? Not to mention, when we be as pilgrims and you're sweating and you're running and you're going from place to place to place, do you have time to make sure that you're, the seams don't come off the fringes off this shirt? And if you don't have that fringe, I guess you don't make it on the chariots, right? And I haven't seen anybody who wears zeke-zeeks or whatever that wasn't wicked. So I don't wear zeke-zeeks. That's the style and the thing that's created from our enemy, man. So that's why this goes into this. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garment, right? Which lets you watch. It's going to let you know that it's spiritual, not physical. Lest he walk naked, right? And we come to that conclusion that naked, well, it could be, back in Genesis it said helpless, right? But then it also went into some guile and all this other stuff. But mostly that's what the enemy did to us, which that's ultimately what's going to happen. They're going to use this guile to leave you naked, right? They're going to use their craftiness, you know what I mean, to leave you naked. So, but what we understand is that it's shame, right? And it's going to be a shame for you to be caught out there naked, right? Right? Oh, there it is right here. And they see his shame, right? Which is spiritual. So if you're caught out there without the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of the Bible, that is the stability of thy times, right? It was Isaiah 33:6. This is where you're going to be messed up, man. Yeah, so this is Baruch chapter 5, verse 1. Put off, O Jerusalem, right? You so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indians of any Negro descent, and you Israelite foreigners around the world, right? Who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel, right? You Israelites around the entire globe. The garment of mourning, right? Mourning goes into what? Crying, sobbing, right? And affliction. So it lets you know that this garment is spiritual, right? And put on the comeliness of glory that cometh from Yahweh forever, right? Casting about thee a double garment of righteousness, which cometh from Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, and set a diadem on thy head, not a baseball cap, not a freaking baseball cap, a diadem upon thy head of glory of the everlasting, right? So, you know, these people want to get literal about fringes, but not about wearing baseball caps while you go out and teach, not about honoring, you know, Yahweh Shai, which will be your husband. You know, and like I said, anybody wears Zeeks, I've never seen one that was righteous. That's a thing of our enemy. I will never wear Zeeks, and you know, yeah. So call Loyum Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Salutations to the Akim and the Four Winds, preaching the truth and sincerity, risking their lives more now than ever. The hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel and have come back to the fold, Shalom. To the sister, the Akwathium, right? Who listen in silence. Hey, we almost home. Death to America.